Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Here's John and Heidi.
Today is a special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
I thought you'd never ask. It's Wednesday, the 5th day of August. Today is National Underwear Day. It's one of those things you don't talk about a lot, but, you know, it's there.
It is usually there.
Usually there. It's also National Work Like a Dog Day. You know, I wish I could work like a dog because our dogs...
Our dogs don't work at all.
Easiest life ever.
Yeah.
They sleep all night, then they get up and have a treat, and then
I wonder where that phrase even came
day.
from, really, if you think about it.
Well, there's probably some dogs that do have to work hard. Not ours. Our dogs do not work like a dog. And National Oyster Day today. All of those things happening on this Wednesday. And I have a comedy call with very funny comedian Judy Gold.
I remember Judy.
It's so funny. And she's got a new book out. It's called Yes, I Can Say That. When they come for the comedians, we are all in trouble. So going to be chatting with Judy Gold coming up in a bit.
The old way of living with diabetes is a pain. The new way is with a continuous glucose monitor. You simply apply a discreet, easy-to-use sensor on your body. If you test your blood sugar at least 4 times per day and inject insulin at least 3 times per day or use an insulin pump and have private insurance or Medicare, you might be eligible for a CGM with little or no cost to you. Call now and say goodbye to finger pricks.
800-659-7805. That's 800-659-7805.
Now, surveys and studies and such brought to you by BetterCreditCards.com. A survey by the RAND Corporation found that 1 in 3 Americans rely on news sources that they admit are untrustworthy. So, like, yeah, I rely on the news, but I also don't trust the news.
It's such a sad state of affairs that we're in right now.
41% of respondents say the media has become less trustworthy. So, it's really sad. Because, I don't know if you know this, Heidi, but we are kind of part of the media. You know, kind of. We're not doing any hard-hitting news here, but, you know, there are people who would lump us in with that. And I've never intentionally led anyone astray. So certainly don't want to try to trick anybody.
No.
And I think there are some that intentionally do that.
I agree.
And that's really sad. Surveys and studies and such brought to you by BetterCreditCards.com. If you have a credit card, our friends at BetterCreditCards.com would like to make sure it's the best credit card for you. Take a few minutes to look at your current interest rate and then see what you get for points and perks. Then go to BetterCreditCards.com to see if they can help you find a better credit card. This will literally cost you nothing, and it could help you save money by getting a better credit card. Even if you don't have a credit card right now, you can check it out too at BetterCreditCards.com. That's BetterCreditCards.com. This is Your Brain on Drugs, brought to you by TimeForRehab.com. A 45-year-old intoxicated driver in Ohio was arrested at about 7 p.m. on the 12th of July after crashing his vehicle into a guardrail and then urinating in front of the police at the crash scene.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, police arrived. There was smoke spewing from the vehicle's front. The driver told the police, paramedics as well, that he was okay. He said he was exiting when another driver cut in front of him, and that caused him to lose control and crash his vehicle. They said he smelled as though he'd been drinking, and his eyes were red and glossy. He had difficulty walking to the ambulance to be checked. He admitted, well, I had 2 beers. They were probably really big beers.
They must have been huge.
Police asked the driver to perform a field sobriety test. He said he would, but he had to urinate first, so then he just did right there. They placed him in handcuffs. They said that he urinated all over himself, which is not good. I think that right there is failing the sobriety test. He tried to break free, but police ended up getting him in the ambulance. Not a good plan. Don't drink and drive. It's never a good idea. It's what happens when your brain is on drugs. Now, big screen, little screen, brought to you by ChannelSurferTV.com. Hollywood talent agency CAA has cut 90 agents due to the slowdown from coronavirus. So, you know, they have all these agents with clients that are not getting work. So
right. I suppose.
There are clients that are going, well, I don't need an agent if you're not getting me work.
Right.
So they fire the agency, and the agency goes, well, we don't need all these agents if we don't have jobs.
I can see that.
So 90 agents from CAA have been let go. The Real Housewives of New York are filming an in-person reunion. It's either this week, it's on here, it says next week, but I might have got this story last week, so it might be this week. For those of you who really care.
I really don't.
But there's somebody listening that this matters. You first of all,
possibly somebody
talk to a counselor, and second of all, I have a link in the show notes that can get you all those details. And finally, Kim Kardashian picked up Kanye West on a private jet in Wyoming, sparking rumors they could be having a last-ditch vacation to work things out. Either that, or I don't know, they're just living their life. Leave these people alone.
I guess I hadn't heard that they were divorcing for sure. I knew that they were claiming that there were issues.
It's
but
just the media, because anytime there's something going on, it's like they're looking for stuff to talk about. Because remember that story earlier about nobody trusts the media?
Right.
That's kind of what's going on, I think. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
If you take Viagra or Cialis, call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
Call 800-214-7977. 800-214-7977. 800-214-7977. Again, that's 800-214-7977.
Now your scoop of the day comes your way courtesy of InsuranceChicken.com. A New York couple got engaged after the guy popped the question as the Neowise comet flew over for the first time in 6,800 years. Talk about trying to one-up everybody else. So how did he pop the big question? Well, when the comet was flying over.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
some people might
that wouldn't impress me.
A Washington, D.C. priest has tested positive for COVID-19 after urging his followers not to cower in fear. So that's sad to hear that. NYPD could suspend a female police officer who posted a TikTok video that showed her in a police top with hot pants and a pair of boots.
Oh, boy.
So apparently that is not the required uniform. A Florida flight attendant smashed her husband's guitar when she walked in on him with another woman.
Oh, great.
So I don't understand how that made national news. And a bizarre story here from Arizona. They're leading a multi-state probe into trying to figure out why older iPhones are slowing down and shutting down. Some people think that Apple is intentionally slowing down their service.
Yeah, I've heard this.
To force them to buy new phones. Here's the other thing that I might maybe have some information that I could share on that. The longer you have a phone, the more photos you have stored on them, the more videos, it's gonna run slower. So maybe that's
right. But
part
if
of
you
it.
get a new phone, you're going to transfer all of that stuff over
To a new phone that has more memory and more capacity.
I don't know.
So I don't know. I'm not saying that they did anything or didn't do anything, but I'm saying that could be part of it, maybe. Florida police arrested a man who fired a gun inside a Miami hotel because people were not socially distancing. So he took it upon himself to shoot a gun and try to get people to scatter. He got a $1,000 fine for doing that, by the way.
$1,000 is all?
Well, I think he went to jail, too. But Treasury Department is releasing economic data. Actually, they did Thursday of last week that shows the second quarter GDP had the slowest growth rate since 1958's global flu pandemic. So they're saying that things are getting better, but very slowly. And then the next thing kind of makes you wonder. It says the U.S. economy saw the biggest plunge in activity it's ever known in the second quarter, though it was not as bad as economists predicted. So they're saying they were predicting like it was going to go off a cliff, and they're like, hey, instead of off a cliff, we just went into a pothole. Big pothole. So I don't know. Interesting stuff. And there are some sectors that are doing better than others. You know, there are some people who have 401ks that are looking way better than other people's. So I think all of it kind of depends on where you're at and what you're doing. I've got a link to all of this in the show notes for today at johnandheidishow.com. Nobody wants to buy car insurance. It's not a fun thing to think about, but it's something you need if you want to drive your car. So even if you don't want to buy insurance, you probably have to get it from someone. So why not buy it from InsuranceChicken.com? Okay, I'll admit, our website name is dumb. InsuranceChicken.com. Yeah, our marketing department is not that great. But our selection of insurance options is amazing. See if we can save you money each month on our dumb website, InsuranceChicken.com. That's InsuranceChicken.com. Time now for a comedy call with a very funny comedian, Judy Gold. How you doing, Judy?
I'm good. How are you?
I am fantastic. Now, I've got this book in front of me here, and it's all about free speech, and I think it's definitely time for this because people get offended pretty darn easily these days.
Yeah, and they also think every joke is about them, and the world revolves around them, and them. So it's interesting that we have now started to attack comedians whose only goal is to make you laugh.
Yeah.
Yet we are vilified for a joke you don't like or even a bad joke. But I write in the book about how when you take the intent of the person telling the joke out of the joke, you're like, the intent of the comic, what are they trying to say, and just react to a word or, oh, that makes me uncomfortable, you're doing everyone a disservice. Like, even if you murder someone and you're on trial for homicide, your sentence is determined by your intent.
Yeah, absolutely.
You need to do it. What were you thinking? You know, oh, did you do it by mistake? And yet you don't give the same courtesy to a person telling a joke. It's ridiculous.
And sometimes people get offended by things without even knowing the whole story or even knowing what that person was talking about.
Right. You know, you have to look at things from different perspectives and open your mind and not just react to something that you don't like. I guarantee you that if you go to a comedy club, the comedian on stage was not thinking about you when they were writing their material.
Absolutely.
And for some reason, we can't feel uncomfortable anymore. It's like, you know, we have to be protected from being uncomfortable, but that's not the real world, you know? Every safe space has a door to the real world. And comedy is so American.
And right now, more than ever, we need a chance to laugh and smile and forget about some of the other things happening in the world.
Right. Well, it's a coping mechanism. It alleviates tension. It unites people, but it's also a weapon. It's also something that you can use to help people understand different kinds of people. When you see a comedian on stage with, you know, a disability or a person of color or a Jewish person or a member of the LGBTQ community or an immigrant, and you listen to them telling stories and making you laugh about their life, you will learn something and hopefully change your opinion if you had any sort of preconceived notions. Look, George Floyd was murdered, and a week later, the number 8 download on Spotify was a Richard Pryor bit from 1974 about dealing with the police. I mean, you know, we're social commentators, and yet you have to allow yourself to just listen and laugh and realize we just want to make you happy.
And so many times there are things that are said by a comedian that are being thought by many people, but a comedian will find a way to say it that makes it okay, well, at least it used to be okay, and it starts a conversation that gets people laughing about it.
Right, exactly. And that is the power. That is why it's such a powerful medium. I mean, satire is so American, and everyone is fodder for satire in this country. And you think of, like, Bob Hope, right?
Yeah.
He used to go to visit the troops in these foreign countries, and what was the most American thing you could do is to go there and make them laugh. You know, we are a society that's based on free speech, and that includes telling jokes. And if you don't like the joke, then, or the comedian, then shut it off. It's like, if someone writes a song, and you don't like the song, you tell them, okay, forget it. You should never be able to write another song. You should never be able to sing. You should never be able to put out another album. No, you just say, all right, I didn't like that song. For some reason, the same courtesy isn't given to a comedian.
Again, our guest today is Judy Gold. She's got a new book out, and in the book there's interesting title names like Thank God Don Rickles is Dead. Tell me a little more about that.
Well, Don Rickles, he had this caustic warmth that I write about in the book, where he would just call people stereotypical names, and people, it was a badge of honor to be mocked by him, because essentially what he was saying was, we're all the same. Look, you're this, you're that, here we are all laughing together. And yet that would never fly these days. In a way, it's good that we've learned more about people, the world's gotten smaller, that these words have, you know, other meanings that aren't great. So we don't react the same way, but yet he would never make it with that act.
Absolutely.
In 2020.
Well, Judy, thank you so much for being brave enough to write this book, and thank you also for taking the time to chat with me about it.
Oh, my God, thank you for having me, and
Again,
be well.
Again, our guest today has been Judy Gold. The book is called Yes, I Can Say That. When they come for the comedians, we are all in trouble. It's available now, and we have a link to it in the show notes for today at johnandheidishow.com.
The old way of living with diabetes is a pain. The new way is with a continuous glucose monitor. You simply apply a discreet, easy-to-use sensor on your body. If you test your blood sugar at least 4 times per day and inject insulin at least 3 times per day, or use an insulin pump and have private insurance or Medicare, you might be eligible for a CGM with little or no cost to you. Call now and say goodbye to finger pricks.
800-659-7805. That's 800-659-7805.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
We have musical roads. There's a highway in California, Lancaster or Lancaster. I'm not sure how they say it locally there. They play the William Tell Overture. You know, the theme from the Lone Ranger?
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
So if you drive over that road at the correct speed, which is 55 miles per hour, you hear that.
I've heard that. Mm-hmm. I think that's really cool.
That is really cool. So if you want it to go faster, you just go faster. You know, so.
I don't think it works if you go faster.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
I'm not sure how that works. I've got a link to that info in the show notes for today at johnandheidishow.com. If you have a credit card, our friends at bettercreditcards.com would like to make sure it's the best credit card for you. Take a few minutes to look at your current interest rate and then see what you get for points and perks. Then go to bettercreditcards.com to see if they can help you find a better credit card. This will literally cost you nothing, and it could help you save money by getting a better credit card. Even if you don't have a credit card right now, you can check it out too at bettercreditcards.com. That's bettercreditcards.com. Time now for a news headline from somewhere in this world, Dateline, Baghdad. Baghdad hit the temperature 125 degrees Thursday of last week. A record high for the desert city, 125.
Yikes.
But it's a dry heat. This is a news headline from somewhere in this world.
If you take Viagra or Cialis, call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
Call 800-214-7977. 800-214-7977. 800-214-7977. Again, that's 800-214-7977.
Time now for some weird news brought to you by WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com. A nude gentleman was arrested Sunday when state police said that he fought with security guards at a drive-in theater in Butler County, Pennsylvania. Troopers were called to the Starlight Drive-In when 28-year-old Ronald Cito of Madison, Ohio, took off all of his clothes and became belligerent. He's also accused of punching 3 people when he was asked to leave. When troopers arrived and tried to take him into custody, he became aggressive and resisted arrest. He was eventually arrested and taken to the hospital to be checked out and is now facing charges. So,
okie doke.
What would prompt one to get nude at a theater, drive-in theater, and try to fight people? I don't.
You know, I'm assuming there was some substances involved.
It doesn't say that in the story, but probably.
There would have to be.
There's something I never understood. I've seen, like, this is different than this, but where somebody's going to fight someone, like they're trying
to rip off their shirt.
And they'll take off their shirt. Why? Why would you do that?
Women don't do that.
Well, nobody should do that.
It's a guy thing. You want people to see your guns. And
I'm trying to keep my guns in the gun cabinet here. I've got a link to this story. It's in the show notes for today at johnandheidishow.com. Time now for your moment of duh, brought to you by InsuranceChicken.com. A nude couple tangled with police after they were spotted strolling with their dog.
What is up with all the naked people today?
I don't know. Apparently people just want to get out there, Heidi. This happened in Massachusetts. There was a 911 call about a naked couple walking their dog at 6:30 a.m. 32-year-old Mariel Kinney and age 30 Kevin Pinto were accompanied by their dog. Does not have the dog's age. They were questioned about their state of undress. They allegedly became confrontational after answering some questions incoherently. This again is at 6:30 a.m. After some yelling and swearing at police, the couple sought to run away, but were quickly collared. What followed was a violent scrum during which Kinney and Pinto struck officers. Kinney and Pinto eventually were restrained and placed into custody. They were each charged with indecent exposure, assault and battery on an officer, and resisting arrest.
Okay. So. I just once again want to say, God bless our police officers.
Yeah. That's not the kind of thing.
That is not a job that I would do for anything in the world, and thank God there are people out there that are willing to do it.
I agree. What a bizarre story, though. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show. Nobody wants to buy car insurance. It's not a fun thing to think about, but it's something you need if you want to drive your car. So even if you don't want to buy insurance, you probably have to get it from someone. So why not buy it from InsuranceChicken.com? Okay, I'll admit, our website name is dumb. InsuranceChicken.com. Yeah, our marketing department is not that great. But our selection of insurance options is amazing. See if we can save you money each month on our dumb website, InsuranceChicken.com. That's InsuranceChicken.com. Time now for Fake News or Florida. Heidi, tell me, is this a true story from the great state of Florida, or is it hashtag fake news made up to trick you and amuse me? Are you ready for this one?
I'm ready.
All right, tell me, Heidi, fake news or Florida? A Florida man bought a Porsche using a fake check he printed on his home computer. Fake news or Florida?
Fake news.
No, it's a true story.
Ah.
So he printed off a check that apparently looked real and went to a Porsche dealership, handed them a piece of paper worthless, and drove away with a Porsche.
And they gave it to him.
Well, he got caught eventually, but yeah, they gave it to him. So
who's going to get... You would think, when you're buying something that expensive,
yeah,
the very first thing that you're going to do before accepting a check, saying, here's a check, just give me the car and I'll be on my way, that you're going to call the bank, you're going to verify the funds are there. You're just not going to say, all right, here's the keys.
Yeah, apparently. I don't know. That is today's
Wow.
Fake News or Florida.
John and Heidi.
This portion of the John and Heidi Show is brought to you by the John and Heidi Show. That sounds kind of funny, but it's true. Go to your local radio station and ask them to start carrying the John and Heidi Show. Here's the best part. They can carry the show for free. They play a couple commercials, but it doesn't cost them anything every month. So if you know a radio station that could use a little bit of help, send them our way. Send them to johnandheidishow.com. Again, johnandheidishow.com. We would love to do a radio program in your community. Then you could listen to the podcast and listen to us on the radio.
John and Heidi.
We always like to wrap things up around here with good news, and I think this is good news. Comes your way courtesy of BetterCreditCards.com. Here's the headline. Adopted teen is helping senior dogs find loving homes just like she did.
Aww.
Says an adopted 14-year-old girl in California has raised $14,000 to help older dogs find forever homes. At just 9 months old, Meena Kumar was found in a basket on a college campus in India. I was going to say Indiana, but it was in India. After spending a year in an orphanage, she was adopted by a couple in Mumbai who now lives in California. Over the last 5 years, she has spent almost every weekend visiting animal shelters, primarily Muttville Senior Dog Rescue in San Francisco. It's a cage-free dog rescue that gives senior dogs a second chance at life. She understood what it felt like to be left behind, and she wanted to help these older dogs find the forever homes they deserve, just like she did. But when she was too young to volunteer at the rescue, she decided, I'm going to start my own business with the goal of donating all the money that I earned to this shelter. She began offering pet sitting, and that's when Pet Fairy Services was born. She says, I donate all the money that I raised to Muttville. I strongly feel these senior dogs deserve to live out their lives in dignity and comfort. So far, she's raised over $7,000 from Muttville, and that number doubled to $14,000 thanks to a matching donation program from Intel. That's where her dad works. So that is really a cool thing. She's hoping to encourage more people to adopt older dogs. And I've got a link to the story if you'd like to read all about it. It's in the show notes for today at johnandheidishow.com. Time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a great day. Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Wednesday.